Hey, how you doing? My name is Mike, if you haven't been here before. Today we're going to talk about, I'm going to give you 3 examples of women I know that have had vehicle issues that, what are you doing, man? This guy is he's going to have a bullshit session in the road here? I'll show you this time. This is what I'm dealing with. Idiot. It's incredible, man. It is incredible here. So, yeah, I'm going to give you 3 examples of women I know that are, let me think here. Well, 2 of them are YouTube people, and one of them is a friend of mine. I helped her buy an Astro van Sunday over the phone. We're going to talk about that too. I'm on my way back to the house, so I'll be doing this video there. But I also wanted to point out I'm leaving the Johnsons. These are the people that own the home where I have my workshop. She bakes cookies. Nom, 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 nom. And their refrigerator went out. And they asked me if I could go get them a cooler and some ice. And I said, well, I've got a refrigerator in my van. So I just hooked up the fridge for them. It's the Bodega fridge. You guys have seen me do reviews on that here. That was sent to me by the Bodega company. And I just want to point out how van life and understanding that and having a power station and a solar panel and being able to hotspot on your phone and having a refrigerator. You know, you've seen me live for up to 4 months at a time out of this van. This past summer, I was for a week off grid up in the mountains, and I had everything I needed. And it's just, you know, this is an example of how it can actually help you even if you own a house or live in an apartment. That's all. So stick around. This will be interesting for some of you, and I hope it helps some of you out. It's just an advice thing. And don't go anywhere. It's going to get fun and interesting. I promise. How you doing? We're here. We're at the pad. All right, so this... I'm going to give you 3 different women as examples of how I want to convey my point here. Ladies. Now look, there's going to be ladies here that are going to say, oh, I know about cars. I grew up working on cars with my dad, and I raced cars with my dad, and I did all these things. Well, this isn't geared towards you. Just because I'm gearing this up towards women, that doesn't mean I'm saying all men know everything there is to know about cars. Plenty of dudes that don't know anything about vehicles either, who get ripped off. Just because a place exists and they're making money like a shop, that doesn't mean that they're honest. It also doesn't mean that they really know what they're doing, believe it or not. And I could tell you, I've been working on cars since I was a little kid. Which is not the same thing as saying I'm a certified mechanic. I'm not. But I'm mechanical, and I have the tools, and I do a lot of my own work. This channel is called Astro Van Tribe. I've done a ton of work on the Astro Van, right? So, I've worked on every car I've ever owned. I never had a brand new car. At any rate, it's aggravating to me when I have a female friend who tells me what's going on with their car, and I give them advice, and then they don't take it. Or they trust the mechanic they've been going to forever. Like, for instance, let's say, and ladies, let's say you've been bringing your vehicle in. I just ate a bunch of cookies that are stuck right here, right now. My body's rejecting it. So, let's say you got a friend, a guy friend, who listens to you talk about what's going on with your car, and you've been bringing it to a certain shop over and over again, and then your guy friend gives you advice, and you say to him, well, that's not what my mechanics tell me, and you keep going back to the same mechanic with the same problems and spending all this money. And then one day finally something happens where it turns a light in your head, and you're like, oh shit, this guy hasn't been giving me the best advice. Where you should have just listened to your guy friend before. So my number one advice to all women and guys, all people, in particular, this is kind of geared more towards not new cars. Like, I guess I should preface that up front. It's more about people who are buying used cars in the overlanding community, going off road, things like that. But any used car, whether you're just on the street or not, you should have people in your life that know something about automobiles, cars, engines, how they work, suspension, a friend that's willing to get underneath your car and eyeball something for you, you know. Somebody who's willing to double check work that you've had done. And we're going to get into that, because I'm going to be talking about 3 specific women in this video. I'm going to give you examples of things that have happened, all 3 of them recently, to turn a gear in your mind, to make you realize you have to listen to other people and stop just trusting the guys at the shop. All right? First person we're going to talk about is Sarah, our beloved Wonder Hussy. I love Sarah. I've been texting with her since last night. There's an event coming up. I'm going to share that with you guys. And then we're going to talk about this woman, Lydia Rico, who I've met a couple times. I can't say we're friends. We're not friends, but I know who she is. And we talk about that one. I'm sorry. And then we're going to talk about my friend Valeska, who bought another Astro van this weekend. All right, let's start with Sarah. So I've known Sarah for a few years now, and she's awesome. One of my favorite people in the world. You know, it's funny with her, but I won't get into all the personal stuff. But I've listened to her talk about her 2015 Toyota 4Runner the whole time I've known her. And I've listened to what she said to me about her mechanic and advice that he's done and things he's done with her car. And I've given her my thoughts on it before, and she chose to not listen to me about it, which is fine. She trusts the guy that she trusts. And then recently she did a question. It might have been, it was a live video. She does those from time to time where she connects with you guys, her subscribers. And she relayed a story where her sister, Eliza, has a 4Runner. I think it's a 2005. And one of their friends who lives in town, I'm not sure if I met this guy, but I definitely like him because he helps them out a lot. He brought a scan tool. It's an OBD2 reader. You plug it into underneath your dash there. There's a port where you can plug in a computer. For the Astro van, there's one called the Panlong OBD2 reader. And you buy an app for your phone, it costs $5, and then it helps you, tells you what your codes are, and you can clear codes there, and you can follow links to help you troubleshoot your problems. It's a great tool to have. The one I bought was like $14, so they're not expensive. You should own one if you own a car. Anyhow, this guy brought a scan tool over, and they found a bunch of codes that were off. He could get rid of a lot of the codes. So they brought it to Sarah's mechanic, and this guy told them that it had a bad cylinder. He recommended a new engine, or he offered to buy the 2005 Toyota 4Runner for $1,500. This is what Sarah's saying. And right away, I'm like, they are ripping off. You know what a 2005, if a 2005 Toyota 4Runner without an engine is worth $5,000 minimum. It's a full-frame vehicle with heavy-duty suspension. You could put a new engine in it, and you got yourself a badass ride. So, rip off. That guy was setting them up to get that car. That's the truth of that matter. I don't care. And I love Sarah. And I don't mean sound mean-spirited. But Sarah, if you have a different opinion than that, you're just wrong. That's what was going on there. So you got to stop going to that guy. You got to find somebody else. That's my opinion. You can keep going to that guy. I'm not going to twist your arm on it. Women just don't want to listen to me for some reason. Fine. Well, I just got off the phone with this guy Fritz. So this guy Fritz Oaks, who's a really nice guy. He lives down in Baja, and he races the Baja 1000, Baja 500. He builds all these cars. He has Ted Nugent's car. You know, I mean, he's offered to have me drive one of these vehicles in the Baja 500, I think it was. He also threw it at Sarah. He said that you and Mike Z should get in one of these cars and do the drive. Sarah, if you're watching this, I would do that with you in a heartbeat. How much fun would that be for your channel? You know, you and I are a laugh friggin' riot together. So, Baja 1000, Baja 500, me and you, I'll do all the driving if you want. If you're not comfortable with it, be the co-pilot. Yes, we can sell the seat afterwards. That was her joke when she was in my van. So relax, ladies. At any rate, Fritz is a mechanic. He went over to their house And he told me just now on the phone, this is what he found. He did a compression test on all the cylinders, and there was absolutely nothing wrong with that car. So they were being lied to by that mechanic in Vegas. 100% lied to. Okay. Then he told me he discovered that there was dirt in the air box aft of the filter, and it had a new filter in. So that guy probably put a new air filter in for them. I'm surmising that. It seemed like that had been run for a while without an air filter. Does that mean, I don't know, I'm asking a question, but does that mean the last time they brought it in, he pulled an air filter out and didn't put it back in? Why would you do that? Well, I'll tell you this. If you run a vehicle without an air filter, you are going to eventually ruin your engine because all that dirt and everything's not being filtered. It's getting sucked right into the intake. It's going right into the engine, and all those little pieces of sand or little pieces of glass, and that's going to get into the compression. It's going to ruin your range. You're going to start blowing smoke. You're going to have problems. Boom. That's why you want an air clean. Just so you don't know, if you don't know, just so you know now, all an engine is an air pump. It pulls in air and it forces air out. And the more efficient that you can do that, the better fuel economy you got, better power you got, things like that. All an engine is an air pump. So I talked to Fritz, and now I know what the truth is. So that's just one story, one example of how there's a woman that we all love who's been going to a place who I think's been not doing work correct, and she's probably been overcharged and been paying for things she doesn't need. At the same time, now they know for a fact that the guy lied to them. So I have to throw that out there. Okay, so that's the first example. I also have to say this about Sarah with her 2015 because, you know, Fritz told me that Eliza's vehicle, that's only a 2005, is in much better condition than Sarah's because Sarah's has a lot of mileage on it, which makes sense. At the same time, I told him, I was like, yeah, but it's a 2015 Toyota 4Runner. She could have that truck for the rest of her life if she does all the correct preventive maintenance on it, and then every time something goes wrong, she uses that as the excuse to upgrade. So you don't have to keep putting factory stuff in. Almost everything on the vehicle could be replaced with things that are better than factory. Like, I just put those CV axles on the Astro van from Track Motive, those extendable heavy-duty CV axles. She should have them on her truck. If she had those CVs on her Toyota 4Runner, the longevity of her ball joints, that would last a lot longer too. So that's just an example, okay? So ladies, are you taking notes on this? If you haven't done it yet, get out a piece of paper and a pen and start writing these little things down I'm giving you. Don't just trust everybody. Get advice, get a second opinion. Also, when you have work done at the shop, we're going to get to this because we're going to talk about my friend Valeska. We'll get to that in a minute. Let's jump to Lydia Rico. So Lydia, her and her husband, Phil, had a channel called Gypsy Tribe. And I was watching them, and I liked the show because the channel because I liked Phil. Phil was unfortunately he's not with us anymore. We're going to get into that a little bit. That's not what this video is about. But Phil was a certified mechanic, and he did one of the best ever conversions I've seen. He took a two-wheel drive Ford, it might have been a 350 or larger ambulance, and did the four-wheel drive conversion on it. And they had one of the coolest four-wheel drive former ambulance vans I've ever seen. It was white, and they had done a strip of like a leopard print across the center of it, around the whole vehicle. So you'll know the one I'm talking about if you watch the videos. I met the two of them at in Flagstaff at the Overland West event. I don't know, a couple years ago, 2-3 years ago, something like that. 3 years ago at least, I think. I knew who they were. I went up and talked to them. We met Bob Wells at the same time. There's photos of us all together. Let me insert that right here. Hey, I'm just inserting this here in between these clips. I already finished the video, but I had a thought I wanted to throw out there. Forgive me for the jumping around here with the video, but here's the thing on a used vehicle, ladies in particular. Let's take the Astro van. There's going to be times when you want a particular vehicle because that vehicle possesses attributes that don't exist anymore, where it's more affordable. It's more affordable to have an old vehicle that you're basically going to restore or upgrade than it is to buy a new vehicle. You think it's good to buy the new vehicle because now you're just making payments. You just have to pay the insurance. You don't have to do all the maintenance on it. You're going to have friends that are going to tell you, why do you want to buy that car? It's got over 100,000 miles. Don't do that. It's got 200,000 miles. Don't do that. Mileage doesn't matter. If you want that vehicle because you know what the possibilities are with that vehicle, and you are of the mindset that I'm going to improve that vehicle, I'm going to make it as new as possible because I want that vehicle. I like that body style, I like that size, I like the capabilities, I like what I could do to it, then the mindset has to be, I'm going to buy that vehicle, and every time something goes wrong with it, I'm going to replace that part and or use that as an excuse to upgrade that vehicle at that time with that particular part, or the drivetrain, or the engine, or the transmission, or whatever it is. And in the end, you're going to end up with a very unique, badass vehicle that you put together for the purposes with which you want to use that vehicle. Example is the Astro van. Mine was an all-wheel drive vehicle. You could turn it into 4x4. You could lift it, put bigger tires. The only thing left in my truck is the engine, and I'm lucky I got a good engine. But when that engine goes, I'm going to replace the engine. So when you are of this mindset and you want a particular vehicle and you have friends that are giving you advice when it comes to mileage, you have to remind them the mileage doesn't mean anything, because my intention is to replace everything and make it like a new vehicle. It's a very important point, so I want to insert that here. Enjoy the rest of the video. All right, so you just saw a picture of Bob Wells, myself, Phil, and Lydia. And Phil and I exchanged phone numbers, and we started talking on the phone. And we talked about some personal stuff too, which I'm not going to get into here, but I kind of understood what was going on in his mind at that time, which, that's just personal stuff, but I really liked him. He was a surfer, and the two of them were trying his business at the time, where they had picked up some other vintage vans and were working on them, and he kept talking to me about coming down and working with him on the vans, like helping him with the interior, because he understood I was a master craftsman as far as the wood goes. But I have to tell you, he was no slouch with the interiors on those vans. It looked to me like he was doing very good work. Well, he was stressed out over the business, the relationship, all this stuff, and I don't know what happened, but I lost touch with him, and he wasn't calling me back, and I was reaching out to him, and I wasn't hearing from him. And then it kind of seemed like they had split up or something. And I ran into her, I think it was a year ago or so, in Venice. This was the time, you guys, I did a video on here. I might link it. It was, this video will destroy a lifelong friendship. I had a friend in town who just was out of his mind, and I love the guy, but it's a long story. You'll see if you watch the video. I was walking with him on Venice. We walked by the van. On the way back, we walked by it again, and she was coming out of the van, and I approached her. I said, "Hey, I'm Mike. You might remember me." And she was very short with me, didn't want to talk to me, rude, basically, which is fine. It was like, she might have seen it as an ambush or something. I don't know. But I let it go. She got on her skateboard and took off. Didn't really want to talk to me, and that's fine. Well, I didn't know. Either this had just happened, hadn't happened yet, but unfortunately, Phil had died. He took his own life, and it's a sad thing, and that's not what this video is about. But I just want to give you a little background on this because I know her, but we're not friends, and it was important. And I didn't watch her stuff for a long time for my own personal reasons. But lately, I started watching it again because she's got the channel. She's doing stuff. And this is part of the issue, I think, with her is she's very attractive. She's a very attractive woman, and I suspect what's partially going on with her is that she probably just doesn't trust people that much, and I don't blame her. I mean, look, her husband died, her dad died, her grandfather died, her engine died. I mean, I don't know what happened with the other van. I don't know any of that stuff, and it's none of my business. All I know is right now she's in a VW, like a Vanagon. And she does great video content. She's very good at editing and everything. It's a chick channel. I don't like watching them that much because there is complaining and things like that, and there's drama. And that's just not just her. All of them do it. A lot of guys on here do it too. when I start seeing that all the time, it's not something I want to keep watching. I'm not interested in that. But I like seeing her journey because I know what she's been through, and I like that she's working on herself and being uplifting and trying to put a positive spin and face on things. So I respect her for that. Everything else doesn't matter. Don't care about the past. It's a new day. She did a video weeks ago where she went to a shop called Vivid Vans up in Santa Cruz. Her engine was gone in the van again. It was in bad shape, so she wanted to put a new engine in it. And I watched the video, and it was clear to me that the engine they were putting in was a junkyard engine. Hadn't been opened up or refreshed or anything. She was literally cleaning the engine herself in the guy's shop, which is crazy. She didn't mention numbers in that particular video that I recall. But at the end, when they go to do the test drive where the guy's backing out, that engine to me did not sound good. It sounded like it didn't have oil in it. Like I could hear all the tapping going on, and that did not sound right to me. And I made a comment, a couple comments, but she responded to one of them because I said, it's too bad. You could have maybe done a Subaru engine swap. That's the swap to do in that thing. Although hers is water cooled already. Fritz has a van again. He put a diesel engine from a Jetta in his, which is a great upgrade as well. But her response was very short. It was, well, yeah, if you got $20,000. And then my response to that was, or if you have friends. If you got some guy friends, some gearheads, some motorheads. This is the thing. She's all alone. That's her thing. It doesn't, and I could be totally wrong. I don't know her. It doesn't seem like she has friends, like guy pals, like guys that are motorheads that'll help her out. And I mention it in comments because I've got a friend here. You guys know Dave. Last year he had a guy with that van, a van again, on a lift. He put the engine in for him. I've seen him do this for other people. Whole builds with cars, whole new front ends, the whole deal. My point isn't that Dave would do that for her, but somebody like that is out there and people would do that. So, doing a Subaru engine swap in a VW bus, if you're paying for it, a shop might charge you $20,000, which is still outrageous. That doesn't even sound right to me. That's not a real number. Because you could buy the engine for $4,000 and everything else you need, let's say another $1,500, and then you and your bros can do that job. There's things you got to do, especially things you got to make happen, but you can do that conversion. It's done. There's videos on it. It's a proven thing. So if you got friends, it doesn't have to cost you that money. And that's my point. I'm driving home again, ladies, other people, older cars. Get to know people that know something about cars. Every neighborhood, there's a gearhead with a lift in his backyard across this country. It's amazing. Not only that, there are places where you can rent a shop space to work on your own car, especially if you live in a big city. Not only that, you can hit up automotive schools, high schools that have shop classes. You can go in there with your vehicle. You could talk to them about it. They might want to take the project on because it helps the school, helps the class. There's so many ways that you can work around not having to go to a shop and get ripped off, is what I'm getting at. So when it comes to Lydia in this particular case, her most recent video is the new engine that place put in is bad. And it turns out they went from about a $4,000 price tag to a $7,500 price tag, which is what she paid for a junkyard engine. I am so livid about this. I'm so pissed off and angry. It's fucking crazy. And I left a comment. Of course, she's not going to respond to it. But it got a lot of likes, and there's comments under my comment, and we're all of the same thing. She should not have been in that position. Why did she not? I'm sorry, Lydia, if you're watching this, but why didn't you talk to somebody else? Why didn't you get a second opinion? Do you not have any guy friends that you could talk to anymore about this? Like if I knew you, if we were friends, and you said my engine's bad, so okay, well, here are your options. You can have that engine taken out and freshened up. It's a VW engine. I've had a few. I had a VW Squareback. I've had two Beetles. One was a Super Beetle. Back in the 80s, in one afternoon, I could drop my engine, work on it, put it back in, and be driving it. But VWs are one of the easiest vehicles to drop an engine out of. It's simple. High school kids can do it. It's not a big deal. So those numbers were outrageous. And it's just, if she could have just called somebody, I would have said, okay, well, you can refurbish that engine, or there's rebuilt engines right now. I looked it up, $2,000 to $4,000. She could have gotten another engine. So the cost of the engine, labor, let's say they want to charge you $1,500. She could have been out of there for $5,000, you know, $1,500, or excuse me, $5,500 maybe. What's the extra $2,000 for? And on a junkyard engine that she cleaned herself. That's crazy. So I would have given her those options. I said, you could buy, don't do that, get a remanufactured engine, blah, blah, blah. And before they put it in, do a compression test. Or you buy an engine that comes with that already. They tell you what the compression is and everything, so you know. I watched her go through so much crap in this last video. She did a compression test herself that showed one of the cylinders in the new engine that was a garbage engine was bad. That's what they put in her car for $7,500. Vivid Vans, you better give her the money back. If you guys remember, I brought my van into a shop to have it re-geared. That's something I wasn't going to do myself. I put 32-inch tires on my van. I had 410 gears put in with a posi traction rear end. I needed to re-gear it for the taller tires. I had a new ECU, new computer that's been reflashed to work with the 32-inch tires. I had my shifting points changed, so I shift out of first gear quicker, so I get much better fuel economy in the city. And I brought it to this place called, I hate this place so much, I've actually blocked the name out of my brain, but I talk about Hooper's Rear Ends in Sun Valley. Never go there. Worst work I've ever had in my life. I'm not going to go through that. I've done a bunch of videos on it, but the reason I bring it up is I get notes now from people saying, yeah, I was looking for a place to do rear end work, and I looked up Hooper's Rear Ends, and a bunch of your videos popped up where you're throwing their business under the bus. They should have given you your money back because they're not getting my business now that I saw this video. I've gotten multiple messages like that. So my videos are hurting their business, and I'm happy about that because I called them. During the whole process they worked on it, they screwed things up. It's a long story. I did the videos. You can look them up. Maybe I'll link them too. Put them in the description if I remember. So I drove out, the first time I went to drive out to meet Sarah, I'll tell you a little bit about it. I was taking the south entrance into the Saline Valley, and I started hearing this squeaking. I thought it was a rock in the brake pad. So I didn't think anything of it. And I got there and I partied with her for about 5 days. And then when I left, she came with me. We did videos on it. And we did Steel Pass. We had 4 rock step obstacles to go through that Jeepers use. And I did it in the Astro van. And was making that squeaking noise the whole time. I drove all the way back to LA. A week into it, I was making a turn and I was hearing this weird noise in the rear end. I jack up the rear end. I could take the rear driver's side wheel and go like this. It was sliding out like 3/4 of an inch from the pumpkin, right? From the rear differential. And the only thing holding that wheel on was the brake caliper. That happened on my way in. I took the cover off my rear differential, drained the oil and everything first, and the C-clip that's supposed to be holding the axle in place was sitting in the bottom of the differential, which could have been disastrous. And what happened was, when Hooper's Rear Ends put the posi traction in, there was too much slop. There's a groove. The axle slides in to the gearing for the rear end, and there's a groove that the C-clip goes in that prevents it from sliding out. But it has to have just the right amount of space so it stays there. But the groove in the axle was either too big, or more than likely the rear end, the posi traction, they had to set that upright or get another one so that it would have fit correctly. Because what happened was there was too much slop, and started doing this and wearing it. The C-clip fell out. That's how you take your wheel off, the whole axle. I called Hooper's and told them. I said, you know, when you guys did this, you did this, you did this, you did this. Now I'm having this problem. You got to fix it. He goes, well, if you're unhappy with our work, why do you want to come back? That's what he said to me. Look, what could I spent $3,000, dude. But they were such jerks. I did the videos. And they could have just called me anytime. You still can, Hooper's Rear Ends. You can call me, give me $3,000, and I'll take those videos down. All right? Why do I bring this up? Vivid Vans in Santa Cruz. If you don't give Lydia her money back, you're screwed. because everybody's going to talk shit about you. So if you want to save your business, give her money back. Maybe you already have. I don't know what's going on with that, but I'm angry about this. It's another woman who either doesn't have friends or is not talking to other people, doesn't anybody else she could talk to. She's relying on a shop, and she got ripped off. Totally 100%. So that's a second example. Third example, my friend Valeska. This is a really interesting girl. I like her. Little Jewish chick from the East Coast. I guess I've known her now for, her kids are 1.5 years old. I knew her before that. It's been over 2 years. Maybe it's 3 years. She was watching my videos. I guess she was a fan. And I don't know if she had the Astro van first or she went out and bought it, but she bought the same van I have. I believe it was the same year and everything. I have a 2004 all-wheel drive that I've converted to 4x4. And she was writing me, I think she contacted me initially through Instagram. I had no idea it was a woman. I thought it was a dude at first. Why is a chick buying an all-wheel drive Astro van and then calling me asking about the lift advice? So I was typing, and then I said, fuck this, I'll just exchange numbers. And then that's when I found out it was a woman. And I don't remember everything we had discussed at that time, but I walked her through the process of doing the lift correctly and all that. And then we talked about me going out there and maybe seeing her, like visiting and then doing some work. But there was no other reason for me to go up there when I was doing my cross-country trips. And it was just out of the way, and it just never happened. There was one time I did do a trip, and we tried to coordinate, but the timing was off, and she couldn't make it happen. It's when I was up in Wyoming at that one point on the way out. Well, I didn't hear from her for a long time. And in that time, she met a guy. She had a couple. She had twins, and then sadly that guy passed. That's a whole another story that's terrible. And then I hear from her last week. She had sold the Astro van. She's driving around in a Toyota Sienna, which also has all-wheel drive, but nowhere near the interior capacity of the Astro van. And she missed the Astro van. And she was telling me had too many problems, so she decided to sell it. Now, first example of her being lied to was she told me that she was having there's a reservoir. If you pop the hood on the Astro van, there's a reservoir on the firewall right in front of the steering wheel, right? That's for fluid for your power steering unit. It's and your brakes. The Astro van runs a thing called a Hydro Boost, and this one condensed unit powers your power steering and your power brakes. Okay? Now, it's an interesting system. And she said she had to keep filling that. It was leaking. Now, if that's leaking, it's either the Hydro Boost unit itself. You guys that have been here before know I recently replaced mine last year. And that had been leaking the whole time I owned the thing. I got the thing in 2017, 2018. So it's either the Hydro Boost is leaking or one of the lines is leaking. She was told it was her steering box. And to replace the steering box was going to be this big rigmarole, big job. This is what she's telling me, that she was told by this mechanic that she trusted where she lives in the Denver area. And I'm like, well, that's not so. That unit there and that reservoir has nothing to do with the steering box. The steering box has its own fluid inside there. You could pop a screw and stick your finger in there and see if there's any fluid in it. But it doesn't need to have fluid being fed through it all the time. It's like your differentials. So that's a lie right there. And I know she got lied to. What else did that guy lie to her about? She had a problem with the lock on her door. She had to like crawl through her passenger door. And she told me that one of the fixes that they attempted, they put 2 screws through the outside panel of her door without asking her. She went to pick up her car and there's 2 screws. Ladies, you need friends. You need guy friends that know about cars, where you can call them up and you go, what do you think about this? And they go, let me look it up. Let me look up some videos. Why don't you give you an idea? You could look up the videos, how to fix this, what it entails. And then you do all that before you go to the shop. Then when you go to the shop and the guy tells you, well, I got to do this or that, you go, well, I watched some videos and that's not what they did at all. Well, now you caught them in a lie. So you have to educate yourself. You got to stop just listening. You think it's an establishment. The guy's wearing a button-down shirt with a collar with his name tag on it and the name of the business, and you naturally assume you're not getting lied to. You're being lied to a lot of the time. You're just being lied to. Or the guy's just incompetent, doesn't know anything, which is even worse because now he could do all kinds of damage to your vehicle. And I'm telling you right now, I've got friends that are mechanics. I believe all my friends that are mechanics are honest guys. They've told me crazy stories. And there are places that will do certain things like, oh, I don't know, give you back your car without an air filter in it, or do other things maybe even purposely that it's going to wear out another part, so you have to keep bringing it in to keep replacing other parts. This is one of the things I wanted to get at. So I'm not even going to get into the rest of it with her with the old van. She called me because she wanted a new van. So that's what we talked about. I gave her a bunch of advice. She started sending me ads for vans. She found one. And I asked her, well, do they have any receipts for the work that they've done? They did. And in the receipts, it said that the lower ball joint had been replaced. Okay, well, on the Astro van, the lower ball joints are riveted into the lower control arms. Now, you can replace the lower ball joint if you want, but you have to drill out those rivets, and that's a friggin' job. I've done it to my van so I can put in more heavy-duty ball joints. So I told her, I said, you got to get underneath there and see if you see bolts with nuts poking out. You could see it visually. I sent her a picture of mine. I also sent her a picture of the orientation between the front axle and the oil pan, showing her that's not rubbing, but on hers, it's going to probably be touching. Well, when she went to look at the van, she sent me a picture of your oil pan. Sure enough, it was resting. So I told her, like, okay, you can knock off $500 right there because you're going to need new engine mounts and that's going to cost money for a shop to do that, blah, blah, blah. And then she sent me pictures, and it turns out both of the lower ball joints had been replaced at some point because I saw bolts with nuts on them, but they had not been changed in a long, long time. They both had the same amount of rust and muck on them, and the receipt said one ball joint had been replaced. I didn't see that. You would see if one ball joint had been replaced. So the woman who owned the vehicle before her was lied to. That ball joint wasn't replaced. And you don't replace one ball joint. You replace them in pairs. If you have a lower ball joint that's bad, you replace both your lower ball joints. You're better off replacing all four, to be honest with you, at the same time so you can understand the rate of wear in the future, the next time you need them. So, again, another example of people being lied to, and the reason why you need to know people that know something about cars. You have to stop just trusting the shop. And you might go to a legit shop. I have one right here, SMG, certified mechanic. I'm always turning him on the stuff that he didn't know about. I recently went in, and I love him. Great guy. He's so good. I went in to have my front main seal replaced. There's a harmonic balancer. It's your camshaft. It's kind of hard for you guys to me explain it to you because you're not going to understand it all if you don't know cars. But it's a seal. And there's a timing cover that's there. And you got to pull the timing cover off and replace it. But to do that on the Astro van, the right way to do is also pull your oil pan because that's all connected when you go to put it all back together. And it leaked after they did it. And I went online and I learned that when you do that, where the timing cover meets the oil pan, you want to put some silicone in there, even though they tell you not to. You do want to do that. But then where the seal goes in, it turns out you want to put silicone on the keyway, on the shaft, when you put the harmonic balancer on, because apparently that'll leak there too, and they hadn't done that. And they had to do this 3 times for me, but they eventually got it right, and they didn't charge me anything for it. It was just the initial cost. So if you have a reputable shop and you can communicate with them, they'll take care of you. So, to surmise here, ladies, don't just listen to everybody. Talk to a gearhead friend before you bring it to a shop and ask him his advice. Find the time to do your own due diligence. YouTube has everything. You find out what your issue is, or you think what the issue is. You talk to your guy friend, and he says, okay, I hear what you're saying there. Here's my advice on that. Then you can look that up on you. You can do your own sleuthing or ask the guy to do it for you. And then if you're going to go to a shop, you go to the shop. Now you have knowledge. And you can listen to the person. You say, hey, I got this sound. I'm not sure what it is. You don't give up right away what you think it is. I was told this by a mechanic friend of mine decades ago. Never tell a mechanic what you think the problem is. Because if he's not an honest person, you bring it in. It might not be that problem at all. It might be a very simple fix, but he'll charge you for the problem you thought it was, because that's what you expected it to be. You expected to have to pay that much money, and that's what they're going to charge you, which is crazy. It's a ripoff. I'm not telling you that my friend did that. He told me that shops do that. Just like the ball joint that wasn't replaced. So you can't trust them. But you can't also tell them what you think it is. You just go in there and say, here's what I think is going on. You could say, look, I think it could be this. It also might be a very simple thing. If you educate yourself enough to this particular sound or something, you could say, hey, I know the things it could be. I could need brake pads. I could have a ball joint. I could have a loose nut somewhere. I don't know. Could you do me a favor and troubleshoot this for me? Now, if you got a really good guy friend and it's the sort of thing that could be easily troubleshot, that guy might be able to do that for you, and then you could bring it in the shop. Or maybe that guy, I can't tell you how many times I've gone to the shop with a woman in her car, listened to the guy talk and been like, I hear what you're saying, but and I've saved that friend of mine a lot of money. What oftentimes has happened, they've already been lied to, and they sense it. They ask me to go back with them, and because the way I tell them to put it is, let's go back over there, and you just tell them you weren't sure, and you talked to me about it, and I brought up some questions, so I'm here to talk to you about it, and that's what I'll do. I'll talk right to the mechanic. So this is the sound she's having. You told her it needed all this stuff. Did you do the compression test already? Did you do those things? Because I know that could be the problem, but maybe it's not. It could be one of these other things. And then right away, the mechanic's like, oh, no, you're right. Yeah, I could do those things first, but she just wanted a quick thing. I just gave her a suggestion. I wasn't telling her. Like, they start backpedaling. That's what you have to do, man. You got to cover your ass on this stuff. So the other thing is, and this is what I do with every shop I go to, I ingratiate myself to those guys. I become pals with them. I make them laugh. I talk to them about their lives. I get to know them. I give them advice on other things in life. I offer to help with something, and that I go in there when I don't need anything. Often, a couple times a month, I'll pop in just to say hi. And I always make the joke, don't worry, there's nothing wrong with the van. Everything's fine. I just came in to say hi, guys. How you doing? Oh, yeah, how's that going, man? I know you don't want to work on the van again. Crack them up, boom, 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 and I'm out. So that the next time I go and I do need something, they take really good care of me. They give me a fair price, boom. And by the way, these days in California, anyhow, maybe this isn't the same thing in every state. Everything's on the computer, every single job. So if you need your ball joints replaced, they pop that in the computer, and the computer tells them there's the cost of the parts, and here's how much time it's going to take. This is what the job costs. And every shop in California will give you that same price. Period. When it comes to parts, okay, good advice here for you. They'll tell you that they won't use parts you bring them because they need to be able to cover the warranty. Makes sense. If you have a newer car, you can buy the factory parts. They can buy those. If you brought them the same exact part that they would buy, they have to use that part. If you bring them an aftermarket part that's a different name brand, they're going to say no. The thing is when they're buying the parts, they're charging you more money for those parts than what you could find them for. All right? Now, with me, I'm a lucky guy. People like the channel. They tend to like me. Not all the women. But the guys like me. Ladies. So I had a guy give me a storage shed full of Astro van parts. And I've been using them. I still have another starter and a whole remanufactured, I think it might even be brand new, steering box on a shelf left still. I haven't put in the van yet. But I had everything else. Brakes, rotors, brand new rotors, man, still in the box. Amazing. I just got super lucky with that. But even before that, I was doing this. Now with my van, AC Delco are the right parts. Now, the way most car companies work is 10 years after a model is no longer being produced, the dealerships literally throw away, at least they used to, throw the parts away because they need room on the shelves for the newer model vehicles. And there's all kinds of parts places out there. There's a great place to buy parts. It's called rockauto.com. rockauto.com. It's awesome. But Not always the best price, usually the best price. And you can oftentimes find the correct manufacturer for the parts for your vehicle where your mechanic cannot say no to using those parts. So that's the key. If you have an Astro van and you bring them an AC Delco part, you have it in your van, you drive up, you go, I need my brake calipers replaced. And you say, hey, I happen to have the AC Delco brake calipers. He can't say, no, can't use your parts. Because that's the exact same part he would be putting in the van. So you understand? I don't know if I'm being clear enough. If you want the shop to use your parts, you have to have the right part. Now, some shops might be cool with you too. And they might say, I'll use your part, but I'm not going to warranty that part. So you get to save money on that part. Part goes bad down the road. Okay, give them another one. That would be the best outcome with this scenario. But a lot of shops are marking up the parts. So you can't blame them. That's business. That's just how it's done. Contractors, when it comes to houses, can charge up to 15% legally on all the materials that they're buying to do your job. The guys that you're hiring through them to work on your house, they're making money hourly or by the day on the guys that they're providing to you. That's why contractors are driving around in BMWs and have $500 haircuts. It's all legal. So if you want to cut through the bullshit and save your money, I'm giving you good advice here. I don't know. I guess that's about it. I gave you 3 examples of women I know. Right now, currently, all this has happened within the last couple weeks. It's all real. Examples of how people were lied to, proven to not be telling the truth, and I'm giving you advice on how to deal with these things. And the number one advice is what, ladies? Trust the men in your life. Trust some guy. Find a dude. Also, if you can find a group of guys that are gearheads, if it's the older guys, you're better off because, they're not going to be trying to get into your pants. I can understand. They're going to be thinking about it. They're going to be thinking about getting in your pants, but they're not going to try to get into your pants. Because we're smooth now. We might plant a few seeds in your mind to give you the opportunity to let us know that maybe it's okay for us to try to get in your pants. But I understand that. I think, not knowing Lydia, I think that might be her thing. She's pretty hot. And so I think that might be it, that she probably says, oh, men, all they want to do is get with me. And so I don't want to trust them. Well, then you find yourself in a position with no guy friends that can help you out, and then you get ripped off for $7,500. You need friends. You need guy friends. I need woman. I have plenty of them. I don't think I could get through life and be the person I am without having female friends to talk to from time to time. Also, to remind me of how crazy you are. You're all friggin' crazy. You're out of your friggin' minds. But I love you. I love you. Oh, couldn't live without women, man. You can't really get away with killing them these days either. So anyhow, as I was saying, let's get to Sarah. Baghdad Cafe. Let me look this up. I forgot the town here. I was texting with her last night. So next month at Newberry Springs. So there's a town called Newberry Springs. It's on the 40. And it's a little cafe called the Baghdad Cafe. And I believe it's the 26th of April. There's going to be a meet and greet with Sarah. So she contacted me, asked me if I would be there for that or if I wanted to be. There's not a lot around there. There is BLM land. I think she said I could park in the parking lot if I wanted to spend the night. Fortunately, it's only 2.5 hours away. Although I probably would sleep there if I go. I'm pretty sure I'm going to go. So you guys should go. She's posted about it. Right now, we're getting a clarification on a question. Those of you who are here, because the Astro van, my Astro van people, I've been getting asked. Lately, I got asked a few times, but I was getting asked a lot about doing some sort of meetup, an Astro van meetup. And my brother, as some of you may recall, he has 175 acres on Old Route 66, just west of Seligman. So it used to be a campground, and there's an outbuilding there that has 2 bathrooms, and one of them has a shower, but the roof fell in. You could see the sky. And I have not been able to get out there to help him with that. He's a one-man operation. He's been working on the house more. He's got a job. He's got daughters. He's got a whole life. He hasn't been able to fix that. I would do, and he's said I could do it, a meetup there. But I would only do that if that facility was working. And I do not have the time to go there and help him fix that. However, this thing here at the Baghdad Cafe in Newberry Springs has a big area for parking. And she's checking right now to see if it's okay if I can also do a Astro van meetup at that place on the 26th. So I will do a video on that once I get the confirmation. But I'm going to tell you right now, if you have an Astro van and you want to meet up there, just do it. It's good. They're going to make more money. It's really to help the cafe out, right? They'll have one big booming day of business serving food and drinks and whatnot. But there's BLM land around. So if you have an Astro van, you've got ample time to plan for this trip, April 26th. And if you want to be there, and if you want to camp out, don't plan on being able to stay in that parking lot. You might be able to. Don't plan on it. There's other BLM land around there. And I haven't looked at Newberry Springs, but it's a town, and there's other towns near there. So it seems, and there's cheap motels. As you guys know, my friend Aaron right now is riding a bicycle all of Route 66 back to Chicago, where he lives. And he just rode his bicycle past that a few days ago, and he was staying in hotels at different places. So there are hotels in the area that are cheap, very affordable, really cool. You might want to do a bed bug check first. But I'm just saying, if you have an Astro van and you want to come out, you can come out. If she calls me back or texts me back and says, hey, he says it's okay, that's when I'm going to do a full video, short video, talking about her meetup, with me being there and everything. So I will say this too, and I'll say this again when I do the video. I'm not going to sit there with my van at a table and have you line up to talk to me. That's Sarah's thing. If there's other YouTubers there to do the meet and greet and that's their thing, they can do that. I am uncomfortable with that. I don't put myself, I'm not saying that they're doing it. That's what works for Sarah because she'll have 1,000 people sometimes or more standing in line waiting to talk to her. I'm very uncomfortable with that. I don't want to be the center of attention. I did not start this channel to be a personality or for the attention. I just did it because I want to help people. This entire video I'm doing right now is about helping you ladies out with advice. It's not about me. It's not about self-aggrandization. I don't give a shit. I goof on myself all the time. I don't need it. I don't need any more friends. None of it. But thank you for being here. And keep coming. I'm not trying to tell you not to be here. Get the hell out. Don't need you anymore. I'm a lone wolf, you know, Sigma male. I'm fine with being alone. But the point I'm trying to make here is if I go to this thing, I'm not going to be sitting at a table. I'll be walking around. I'll talk to anybody who wants to talk to me. It's fine, but I'm not just going to sit there at a table. I can't do that. It's just, I'm not built that way. I just can't do that. So either right now you like this idea or you don't, but it doesn't matter what you think. This is what I'm doing. One thing I would like, so Dave, if you're watching or anybody else, if I got a friend who wants to be there, it would be helpful to me if I could hand you my little thing here with the microphone and the camera to film me when I am talking to people or walking around, because I did it last time. It was this past fall in Tacoma. It was very difficult. I'm standing there and there's a gaggle of people around me and I'm talking to all of them. And when I'm done talking to them, I walk 3 feet and now there's a bunch of people around me again. So I was constantly talking all day, but I was trying to talk with the camera up at the same time and hold the camera and change the angle. And while I was talking to people, it's very difficult. So if I've got a friend there who doesn't mind holding the camera and doing this, I can explain to you a couple quick tips so you do it. You'd get good at it in a couple minutes. That would be very helpful. So if you want to volunteer for that, please let me know. And I always tell you guys when I sign off to be nice to one another, but I've decided to change that. I mean, I want you to be nice, but more importantly, I want you to be good. Because being nice is a thing you could put on, you know? Just be good. Be a good human. It's like Ben Franklin. Do well by doing good. Just be a good person. Be as good as you can be and help uplift one another. Help people out. This is what I'm doing right now. And that's it for now. You guys have a great day. Thank you for being here. I tell you all the time, I got the best subscribers on YouTube. A lot of you came from Sarah, so thank you. And that's it for now. You guys have a great day. I hope this helps. I'll catch you in the next one.